So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi villains, we're back again for our sins to talk about Aston Villa, and I'm quite delighted that Paddy is here today as my wingman, as my trusted wingman. Do you know what, Paddy? As the intro was coming on, I said, "Do you know what? I better put up on Twitter that Paddy is here so that people will tune in." I'm not going to ask you how you're feeling or how you're doing because it's I think I could nearly fucking paraphrase what that is at the moment.
Yeah, you could. I'm going to be exactly the same. It is what it is. It's soul destroying at the moment. We can't buy a bit of luck. Could have went ahead, ball went out of play, and that changes everything. And again, we go back to changing the game in the middle of the game. Changing tactics in the middle of the game costs us the game. It's just mind-boggling what's going on. I just can't get my head around it at all. Douglas Luiz plays one of his better games for the club, takes him off.
Yeah, I still can't get my head around that. And I watched it again today, and I still can't get my head around what the thought process about taking him off was. It was almost immediately they attacked the space he left behind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just my overriding emotion. That just, I just slumped into the chair like Gerrard has done before and just said, this is only one way this is going, It was the wrong decision. It should have been McGinn that came off. If he had to make the change. I think I put it in our WhatsApp group at halftime. I'd snap your hand off for 0-0 here. But no, in true form, we've made a decision to take a player off, and it's cost us the game.
It had a big effect on the game. Even where Pablo Fornals takes the shot from was exactly the spot that Douglas Luiz had been camped in in the second half. Himself and Kamara were actually formulating that. And I wanted to do a tactics breakdown as well tonight. But look, we've got the Arsenal game in 2 days' time. And there's only so much time I can devote to the podcast as well. But one of the things that I did see from watching it back today was that Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara were playing in a double pivot. As we've been asking for it specifically in defence, they were playing in a double pivot. When we went forward, both of them actually pushed up into a more flat midfield when we went forward, specifically in the first half. But in the second half, when we were under the cosh, we went back into the double pivot. We looked a bit more. Well, we looked stable. Yes, we couldn't really get on the ball much, but when we lost that double pivot, there was that canyon in the middle of midfield, and that's where West Ham were trying to work the ball into all the time.
Yeah. And Declan Rice turned into Franz Beckenbauer again. Once that space was there for him. And look, we just can't buy a bit of luck. I think I opened by saying that even the Konza gets something on the ball and it loops over Emi Martinez into the net. I think when something like that happens, I think you just throw your hands up and go, something has to give here, something has to change. So it's tough. It's tough, and it's not going to get any easier over the next week. I'd like to be sitting here telling you how positive I am, but I certainly am not. I'm not even positive we're going to get players in or out of the door in time for Thursday night. So all we can do, I think, is hope and pray now at this stage.
Well, we did get one player out today. Well, it hasn't been official from the club yet, but it seems to be pretty much all over the place coming from Dutch media that Anwar El Ghazi has gone to PSV for 2.5 million. I suppose realistically, when you look at it in financial accounting terms, that's a real-time saving of about 4, nearly 5 million. I suppose when you take into account wages and amortization. So look, I'm not saying that the club are penny pinching to that level of 5 million, but when you hear a lot of people talking about net spend at the moment, we're nearly a carbon neutral from a net spend point of view at this stage. Specifically with all the people who are gone out on loan and the savings and wages and things like that. So I'm a bit more hopeful. I think we get players in. Look, we're not going to be signing, as you say. It won't be anyone of the Franz Beckenbauer probably wouldn't even come to play for us at the moment. But we won't be getting. I don't think we'll get massive, huge names. I think we'll get some squad fillers. And look, it's going to be a long time between now and the World Cup window, but we can only hope that someone can change it around, because that club statement that everybody keeps on posting, whenever Villa put up anything on social media, everyone keeps posting that club statement banner. It's not coming, lads. It's not coming this side
No, it's not.
This side of the World Cup window, unless our results continue to be as bad as they have been.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's not coming this side of the World Cup, but it's not coming this side of the transfer window. I would imagine if we're in a perilous situation by mid October, maybe, I think then the big red button will be out. But like we could be very easy looking at 5 or 6 defeats on the bounce here, and that's the worrying thing. But he might come out and put a performance in one of the next 2 games, and everything will be rosy in the garden. But I just can't see that happening. I don't think anybody can see that happening. Even the most optimistic of us is a little bit flat now at the moment.
I think so too. What we'll do, Paddy, is I suppose we've a lot to say about the game. I can hear it in your voice. This is as low as I think I've ever seen. I've ever heard you on the podcast. But let's listen to a couple of the voicemails, and I nearly did it again. A couple of the podcasts that people sent in. But it is they're little mini podcasts that you guys have sent in to us, and I thank you all. I must say I had to delete 1 or 2 of them that had emails on it. There was a Danny H. Love. You actually had a really good voicemail. Unfortunately, I can't share any email addresses, but if you want to leave one in again, maybe next week, I'd be more than happy to read it out. Also, there was 1 or 2 from last week that I didn't quite get to. They were just kind of a small bit out of date, so I do apologize too. There was someone called Aina Bashik was there as well. There was I think Christopher Gonzalez, you sent one in last week as well. I just didn't get to. I think they came in either too late because I went on a different date than I said everybody. So I do apologize, but keep sending them in. They are really appreciated. And let's listen to a couple of them here, and we can chat. I suppose a lot of them will bring up things that we want to chat about anyway about the game. So let me pop this up here, and let me get. My backgrounds are all broken as well. It's just not working, is it? Backgrounds are broken and everything. Right, let's start playing the first one that we have here, which is from John Steele.
First of all, I love this podcast. I follow quite a few Villa podcasts, and I even follow a couple of Norwich ones since Dino left. And this one is by far the best club podcast there is, which, and because of that, I'm sorry to be so negative, but where are the positives here? The West, we don't have a divine right to go out and beat anybody, but we should at least look like we could beat somebody. The first half, really good. But Moyes is a manager that can actually make substitutions, unlike I have difficulty even calling him a manager. Look, how much time do we give this guy? I'll give him a pre-season, it'll all be grand. How much time do we give him? It's just not good enough. There are managers out there that could take us to the next level. Like, people laugh when you say Pochettino that he'd never come to a club like Villa, but why not go out and try and get him? Tottenham wouldn't be where they are if it hadn't been for him. Next 2 games we're going to be 1 win out of 6 games. When do we pull the trigger on this guy? It just beggars belief. He's not a manager. Him, Austin McPhee, and the rest of them just get out of the club.
Yeah, look, definitely came in after the game yesterday. First of all, thank you so much for saying such lovely things about the podcast. Really appreciate that, John. That is nice to hear in our time of need, specifically at the moment. And look, there is quite a lot of talk about Gerrard, and I suppose kind of the feeling that is around him with regards to. I suppose I'm going to say it again, and I've been pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? Consistent in my thoughts here, that I think there's been a couple of unforced errors from Steven Gerrard that that I know, me personally, the longer that they go on, and it happened again at the weekend in the post-match interview. He said, "We got to roll up your sleeves. I'm ready to do it. I hope the players are as well." Like, stop talking about the players in post-match interviews you're driving everybody away. Like, you're driving everybody away. That's a big alienation piece. And it's been picked up on again. He doesn't need to say that. We have an awful lot to do. We need to roll up our sleeves now. We've got a couple of weeks to do it, and I'm more than that. I know the players and us are more than capable of doing this because they're a great bunch of lads. That's all you have to say.
Yeah,
that's all you have to say. Like how fucking hard is it? Like,
well, I know things are turning bad when the interview is getting on your nerves because you generally just get over it. But yeah, he's grinding on me for a long time. Calling out players like that, I just don't think there's any need for it. So yeah, let's.
I give a bad manager time to turn it around on the field from a performance and a tactics point of view. But the thing that's kind of and I'm not shouting Gerrard out. I'm not, okay. But I am showing frustration at the fact that, like, every single post match, there's some sniper niggle, and it's just an unforced error. It's an unforced error. That's what it is, and we don't need to do it. We don't need to do it. Things are bad enough without us getting results. But then you've got things like, how the hell Richard Keys would know, I don't know. Well, maybe he might. Maybe Andy Gray told him, maybe something like that. But Richard Keys coming out today saying that, oh, it's not fun being in Villa Park and stuff like that. These things manifest because of sound bites like that that are halfway around the world before, and you can't take them back. And for me, it's an unforced error. Yes, we're going to get a kick in from the media because of the way we're playing at the moment. We're not playing well. And that's a thing, that's something as well. But then when you've got somebody like the strict father mentality and the tough love, and maybe that's what it is, and maybe the club needs it, but we don't need it as fans. That's what I'm struggling with at the minute. Maybe he's come in and seen what the actual problem is, and it's going to take him a long time to fix it. Maybe in some alternate universe, maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's come in and said, lads, there's a group of guys here that are nowhere near the standard of professionalism. I don't know if that's the case. This is me playing devil's advocate. And maybe this is his way of doing it. But he's not bringing us as fans with him by doing that. If that makes sense. Because the results aren't coming.
No. And you know, he didn't say it this weekend, but he said every week it's on him. It was on him again this week. I'm a little bit annoyed at some of the players for not clapping the fans. I know you don't really buy into that, but as a fan, I think it's important that you acknowledge the support. I know they were booed at the end. You got to take that and be like a man as well, and man up and give it a clap back to the fans that, let's face it, paid an extra 30% on their season ticket this year, and the cost of tickets individually have gone up as well. So there's a lot of things grinding on people. So I think the players need to have a small bit of respect.
Let's go on and let's listen to a couple more. I'm sure that a lot of this, a lot of what we said will be repeated, but here's one from Ash. Ash, this is a two-parter. We'll play both of Ash's first. And yes, you ask in the middle of this, are you allowed to leave 2? You can leave 10 if you want, as long as they're coherent and make sense. You can leave as many as you want. Here goes.
Hi guys, this is a cool feature. I've been following the channel a little bit. I'm with other people on the fact that I don't think Gerrard is up for the job. I don't necessarily think he should be sacked right this moment. Not unless someone like Pochettino can be grabbed up. But I think our actual issue is not defensively or necessarily in our strikers. Obviously in our midfield, but I don't think it's necessarily the personnel for their qualities. I think it's actually to do with balance. So I would consider Ramsey and McGinn as ball carriers. Ramsey's more of a dribbler, but essentially they're both ball carriers. They're not playmakers in the sense that, you know, they're not going to be smashing balls 20, 30, 40 yards into the final third right onto the peach of the foot. I think that's something Coutinho can do, but I think he gets a little bit lost up the top of the pitch with a lack of pace, but especially into the later games. Only 90 seconds. So I think we should drop Coutinho into an 8, protect him with Kamara and Luiz, play Buendia on the right, play Bailey on the left where he statistically belongs, and Watkins up front. We need to drop this whole idea of Ings. He's too slow and he doesn't affect games, and the occasional poach doesn't validate that formation. Hi guys. I hope it's okay to send a second one. If not, I guess just don't play this one. But I just wanted to send a second one since there wasn't really enough time to justify my first one. I just wanted to say that I think Coutinho in the Premier League state as it is now he's too slow to truly affect the game at that point of the pitch. He is a dribbler, but by the time he gets into his stride, I think there's 2-3 people around him. He just gets blocked out, and then he can't pick that pass through 2-3 players. Not many players can do that. I think if we drop him to an 8, he can influence the game from the centre of the pitch without the need of having to drop back and leaving empty spaces on the left or the right, as we saw against West Ham at the half-time picture. I think he can play through balls and so on. McGinn is a ball carrier. He'll spin his arse and stuff like that, but he doesn't play those key through balls. Neither does Ramsey. He's more of a dribbler. I think the real issue with this team is that we're not finding a way to get Coutinho, Buendia, Watkins and Bailey in their best positions and in the same team. And I think dropping Coutinho into an 8 and putting Buendia on the right, Bailey on the left, Watkins up front, Kamara and Luiz to protect will be good to go.
Paddy, what do you think of that? I suppose kind of a variation on the 4-2-3-1 with Luiz and Kamara in there. Personally, I'm willing to try it. I'm
definitely willing to try it. For me, the best game he had, and I keep going back to this, is the Man City game, last match of the season. I thought he was absolutely excellent that day. He absolutely bossed that part of the pitch. They had 2 men around him. He kept them occupied, and he was a little bit deeper than usual. Now I know he got a flick on for one of the goals as well, didn't he? So it wasn't completely that he was more reserved, but I wouldn't mind seeing him in that 8 position and play Coutinho and Bailey out wide to maybe support him, maybe get a bit of ball off him. It's hard to put a finger on where our problems are, but that's definitely one that we could try. But I'm worried about Buendia. I'm worried about his future. I would hate to see Buendia being messed about in this system. So he has to be our priority. I know we spent an awful lot of money and an awful lot of wages on Coutinho. Buendia is much more consistent, and I think he's the most important person to find a place for in the team. He didn't have the best of games on Sunday. Very congested area, struggled to get into it, and I'm not going to go all in on him because it certainly wasn't his fault. But I totally get what he's saying there to give a different role to Coutinho and see how he goes with it.
I'll try anything, lads. If you want to play with Robin Olsen as a number 8 and see how it goes, try it. Yeah. I
think you can just tell that we're all clutching at straws here just to try something different. Just try and get a tune out of somebody in a different position. But we can tell there seems to be an awful lot going on. That stuff that went on with Bailey's agent at the weekend. When Dia deleting his Instagram today, I know that really pissed you off, Neil.
No, I think he's the only smart man in the whole dressing room. If he's deleting Instagram, everyone should.
But the whole thing just
Instagram, waste of time.
The whole thing has descended into a circus for me, and that's what has me completely down. I just feel like at every turn, at every message that comes out, at every game we play, there's just something else adding to it, and I don't know. I don't know if he's a strong enough character to overturn this. I hope he is. Because I don't believe that it should be all about changing managers all the time. But if he's tactically inept, then that answers your question for you. But I'm not seeing any improvement under Steven Gerrard. We have to consider what's happened with Michael Beale, Neil Critchley not going to Australia. There's so much at play here that just leaving me scratching my head. So I'm not going to say I want him sacked. I don't want him sacked. I want him to succeed. I do want him to succeed. I don't like the circus he's brought to the club, but I would much prefer to turn this around with what we have. I don't think we're going to get a tune out with Coutinho with any other manager at the helm. I just can't see it. So
I could see Pochettino get a tune out of him. No, in fairness,
I don't know.
I could see Brendan Rodgers get a tune out of him playing him in the James Maddison role. I think, but I think what was mentioned there about maybe like I think if you are to do that, we've spoken previously about people asking could Buendia play the 8. I think he, like we've said before, you're bringing him into a very, very small midfield if you're going to play a flat 3 in midfield like that with a Buendia as an 8. Now, if you bring him in there again to play as with the two boys, Luis and Kamara behind him, I think putting Coutinho in there, I think it's Coutinho you have to move to that position because you can't just keep pushing Coutinho out to the wing. We need to get Coutinho the ball. And what I like about this is that if Coutinho gets the ball inside there, he could be one of those deep lining playmakers that could try and make plays from there. But if we're playing Bailey and if we're playing Watkins up top on his own, I think you need the pace of Buendia and Bailey up there. And play them a small bit wider. And listen, if we're going to give away, like at the moment, our midfield is as passive as the day is long. If people just run straight through it, it's like a canal straight through our midfield. So why not put Coutinho in there? It's not like we're making loads of tackles and loads of pressures and loads of blocks inside midfield anyway. So have him in there when we're attacking. He can start the attack from deeper. I don't know.
Yeah. It's worth a try. Like we've tried to pick a team week in, week out, and nothing has worked. He's more or less picked the teams that we've asked him to pick. It hasn't worked. I think that team in the first half last week with the two pivots there worked. It stopped West Ham playing through us, and the minute he took one of them away, we were in trouble. Yeah. So maybe he thought they were there for the taking. Yes, they were there for the taking, but we weren't putting the plays together to take them on. So yeah. I just felt if we'd have taken the 0-0, taken the point and moved on from it, it may have stopped the rot. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the thing, in-game management. Danny H is next.
Hello, Neil, mate. First off, love the pod. Been listening for a while and great to see where you're taking it. Long may that continue. Wanted to touch on the first half against West Ham and how reserved we were and sort of protecting the ball, not having the fullbacks bomb on, keeping our shape, being that little bit more solid, albeit against the out-of-nick West Ham side. I'm just trying to think, was that part of some sort of plan? Was that a directive from the gaffer to hold it together at the back a bit more? Was it to do with the fact that we had Luis, Booba in the team, missing Mings, sort of naturally stopping us from that sort of bomb-on style? Or could this be the players actually going against the manager and holding back a little bit in order to not leave themselves exposed? Because I think we'll never know the answer to that, but the answer to that would shed a lot of light on what's going on behind the scenes. And if it is the players that are starting to make these decisions, then this has got to be the beginning of the end for Gerrard. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Once again, thanks for the work you and Paddy do, and all the best.
Thanks very much, Danny. Really appreciate that, and thanks for the kind words. You know what? I've said in this podcast as well before that if players are being sent out to do a job and they feel in-game that it isn't the correct job and they need to change it, they need to have the balls to change it themselves and then go into the dressing room and face their manager and say, we changed it and it was for the better, or we changed it was for the worse. I don't think clubs rise or fall because of that, because specifically if they're 1-0 down, there should be somebody who's able to go in and say, listen, we had to make this tactical change inside there. You weren't making it in the sideline. And I think that's okay to say. Now, with this one, I think Gerrard did go out, or I think Douglas Luiz did kind of revert back to his kind of more cautious nature when he was in there. And I liked it. It's just we did nothing up top once again. We did nothing up top when we resorted, even in the first half, or specifically, should I say, in the second half, we just resorted to our fullbacks once more. And it was like I think it was a bit of a mixture of both. I think the players just got, I don't know, was it complacent? Did they just not see what was going on? Did they not want, like, there's nobody out there who seems to want to grab the ball by the scruff of the neck, or the bull by the scruff of the neck, or bull by the horns. That's what it is. The bull by the horns and get it. And it's just very easy to pad your numbers and pass that ball out to Luke Dean and let him whip one into no one, essentially. Which I think I'd like to think it came from the sideline, but as you say,
Yeah,
we'll never know.
we have this argument off air all the time, and I can assure people that in this multi-million wage industry, a player does not go out and play against the manager's wishes. It doesn't happen. I would put my house on it that it doesn't happen. You can't take that risk because you get bombed out. You see players going rogue and they don't see game time for weeks after it. It doesn't happen. I think he sent them out reserved. I think he sent them out, as I said last week, he sent the team out properly prepared. He just could not get a tune once he made the changes, and he made the wrong changes.
Yeah. Let's move on to morning here. I've listened to this one. I've listened to all of them.
Yeah, Paddy. I'm lost. We're lost. I don't know what the hell we do. How we go on from here. Paddy, solve this for us, man. Save the club. I'm usually on the bright side of things. Like I tweeted last May, I think it was, and I said, let's hold off our opinions on Gerrard and give him his time, and then we'll reevaluate him this time next year, being May 2023. Fucking hell, man. I'm 4 games in, and I wish I could take that tweet back. That dude is certainly doing something wrong for these quality players to be just going out there and shit in the bed week in and week out against teams that we should be getting the result on. It's a damn shame. Paddy, what the fuck do we do, man? Tell me.
It's all on you, Paddy. Yours.
All on me. Well,
put on your cape.
I have my ideas, but look, you as an Aston Villa fan are more than capable of taking back that tweet if you want to take back that tweet. That's your prerogative. We can be as fickle as we like. Yeah. I just don't know where we go from here. And the reason I don't know where we go from here is that we're 3 days and an hour away from the transfer window slamming shut. Jim White will tell us.
Oh, shite. Is it the 1st of September it closes? And that's
Thursday night, yeah, Thursday night. So that's what has me flat. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's nobody saying there's 3 players coming in, which we definitely need. We need 3 players. We definitely need a centre half. We definitely need a midfielder, if not 2 midfielders, and possibly a striker, a big striker. But that's just my opinion. But if we're going to be stuck at the end of this with very little centre halves, I don't see how we can change things up. Like, I think ideally, if he wants to play the way he's playing, we are going to have to play with 3 fullbacks or 3 centre halves, or we're going to have to drop Boubacar Kamara into that position when they go forward, like we did the last day. And that has to be the way forward. But the way forward is we need to spend money in the next 3 days. The checkbook has to come out. There has to be a moment where we see a tweet coming out from Aston Villa and they're scratching their head going, where did that come from? That has to come 3 times in the next 3 days, or we're in trouble. We are in big trouble because we can't change this till January. So January is not the best time to be buying players. Neither is 3 days before the transfer window. Now, I'm only speculating, but they have to have something in the pipeline.
Paddy, hold your thoughts for that in a moment. If I remember rightly, there's a voicemail coming up that we may be able to talk a small bit more, because there's a really good point made in a voicemail coming up. So we'll dig into that. I can't remember if it's this one though.
Hi Neil, hi Paddy. I think it's time he's got to go. The chopping block needs to come out. Looking at that on Sunday was awful. I mean, first half we controlled the game but did nothing with it, and then the second half we're trying to cross in the air and we haven't got a big man and we're against a team of giants. He's evidently tactically inept. It's screaming now. And the one thing he did have in his favour was this pull of players. But you can't tell me if you're a player coming in and you've seen that you want to join. And also, last month, nothing's come in. So is that pull even there now? I don't know, but I think it's time to have a search about for a new manager, because he's evidently not the one. I mean, he's definitely not a decent enough coach. You can see that from really his resume. He's done 12 months at youth level and then gone to Scotland, which is, well, if you're one of Rangers or Celtic, you've got half a chance anyway, haven't you? So yeah, I think he's got to go. All right, bye-bye.
Come on, Ben. Thanks a million for ringing in. Always, I'd say, listening to the podcast since day one. Thank you. As I say, we've covered a lot of what you said there as well, and I do apologize. Like, as I say, we want to talk about every voicemail, but sometimes we've already gotten to some of the points before the voicemail comes up. But thank you so much for ringing in. I've just remembered that voicemail that I was referring to, Paddy, was one of the two that I had to delete. It was either from I think his name was Des McKeown, or it was from a Danny H. But I'm going to tell you what it was here, and he listed off the teams that were around us last season that either have that number 8 that can grab the game by the scruff of the neck, or have gone out and bought one specifically this summer. So there have been players out there this summer. Yes, they've cost 30, 40, 50 million, but he went out and he named them. He said Bruno Guimaraes moved to Newcastle in January last season. Paqueta gone to West Ham. Tielemans at Leicester. He named a couple of more as well. And I think that's, and he made a really good point that you could, like, our centre halves will do a job for us, and there's worse centre half pairings in this league that can be coached up. And yes, we can keep our fullbacks back, but our midfield is very much a case of we either have to have somebody tackling the whole time, or else we're searching for a combination, and we have been even under Dean Smith in midfield. And he made a very good point that proper number 8 could potentially transform this whole team, because it would give us a bit more stability in midfield. And do you think, Paddy, that, like, I'm nearly coming to this to the stage at the moment whereby, yes, if we get a Bednarek in on loan, or we get a Craig Dawson in for 2 million or whatever it was that's been mooted, I think that's okay. It fills a gap in our centre half position if we are going to get Diego Carlos back. But I think money does need to be spent further up the field now, the more I'm thinking about it, because and like you, Paddy, I've been saying it for almost a calendar year now. 3 at the back might be the way to solve a lot of our defensive issues anyway, because we can't keep clean sheets.
Yeah. An awful lot of valid points, but I think the overriding emotion from everybody is that he's got to go. I just can't see it. I don't know how many times I got to say it. I'm not being. I don't want to say I've got any insider knowledge. I'm just talking from the heart here. We've invested an awful lot in this project. I just cannot see them pulling the trigger unless it gets ultra toxic and we go those games without a win. I just can't see any way he's going to do it. But look, you mentioned a player there, Tielemans. If Leicester are having a fire sale, why are we not paying 40 million for Tielemans, or 35 million, or whatever he's going for? Because he would change us completely. Absolutely. He is the kind of player I'd like to see come in. Whether he's available or not, I don't know. But look, that's an option to go and change the game. You mentioned the 2 centre halves. I'd rather Bednarek. That's just my opinion. If he's coming in, get it done, get it over the line before Wednesday, and have him sitting on the bench, because we could probably do a 3 at the back on Wednesday with 2 sitting in front.
Next one here is from Stephen O'Leary. Let's take a listen to this.
Hi guys. Obviously it's very doom and gloom around Aston Villa at the moment, in particular on Twitter. My timeline seems to be full of nothing but negative tweets, which I'm guilty of myself. But I suppose my question is, do you think it's completely justified, or is there a small bit of Villa fans' expectations being slightly too high for the club, really? I remember, I think it was on the overlap, Roy Keane and Gary Neville, when Roy Keane got Sunderland promoted, and he kept them up, I think, in his first season. He said that at the time he expected them to go on and finish mid-table, but in hindsight he should have been just trying to keep them in the league for the next 3 or 4 seasons. Do you think that's kind of where we should be at, or is it fair enough to expect us to be top 10, top 8 team in our third or fourth season back in the league. Thanks, guys.
Just his first point there about it being toxic, and I'll go back to what I said earlier. That's your prerogative. If somebody wants to be too high, let them be too high. If someone wants to be very low, let them be low. We're all suffering in this together. The only positive has to be is if you're there at the match while the match is ongoing, get behind the fucking team. Just get behind the team. Yeah. Just show them that there's support there. Like, I mean, there's the bones of 40,000 Aston Villa fans there. It seemed to be very quiet at the weekend. I didn't talk to anyone at the match.
It was actually pretty raucous. It was supposed to be very, very positive up until maybe the last 5 minutes. And even the West Ham fans online were saying the same thing. They said it was a bang on atmosphere, and they referenced that there was booze at the end, but they said that you know it was a great away day apparently.
I've completely tuned out since the game because I'm likely to say anything on Twitter as well if I'm feeling that way, and I don't want to do that because that's just not what I do. But I think the time has come where it's shit or get off the pot. In my opinion, he's going to get another 10 games at least. We're going to be looking at this in the middle of August. I don't see any benefit in changing it right now, 3 days before the transfer window ends, and someone's got to come in and decide whether we keep Freddie Gilbert, whether we keep Sanson, whether we keep El Ghazi, whether we sell Buendia. I don't know. I don't know what those decisions are, but they need to be made in the next 3 days. So we're going to have to trust the process, I would think, for the next 6 weeks, which is probably about 10 games. And then I reckon there's a decision to be made, because if we're anywhere below 16th, I think a decision will be made come the middle of October after that international break.
I think a point that Stephen made there about, do we need to readjust our expectations? Like, remember we did our preseason podcast, and at the time, hey, listen, I'm the most positive man in the world. But just I suppose remember the exercise we did of I wrote down how many wins we'd have, how many draws we'd have, how many losses we'd have going on each individual game. And I think I came up with something like 68 points or something. It would have been our highest ever points in the Premier League. But you see, when you take each individual game like that, and each game can be won. Like we could go out and beat Arsenal and Man City. It's highly unlikely, but we could. But I suppose we probably do, and we think we even mentioned it as well, that I was kind of reluctant to say even top half of the table, and I think I went with 9th for a finish. And look, 9th is still achievable, lads. 9th is still very achievable, But at the, if you were to ask me 4 weeks ago, I would have said 9th would have been what I would have settled for, but I would have been thinking we could have pushed on to the top 7. Now what we're looking at is who knows. What we're looking at is who knows. But some good points there, Stephen, I suppose, as well about like Europe does look a bit far away at this moment in time, and I think it's okay to say that. I think it's okay to say that.
Of course. Yeah.
Here we go, Christopher.
Hello, villains. Been pretty positive on here the past few weeks. Feeling a little bit less positive these days. I was a little uncomfortable about jumping on the bandwagon of the Gerrard out stuff, mostly because a lot of those same people were very happy with Gerrard in those first few weeks. I don't think they're fickle. I think they're kind of dumb. I think that they see a good result and they're like, that was great. They see a bad result and they go, that was the worst thing ever and we're all going to die. So I just was a little careful about jumping on those bandwagons. But what I can say is don't think things are going well. I think that Gerrard may be out of his depth. Maybe we do need to change if things don't kind of turn around in the next few weeks, excuse me. Arsenal City, probably not the best place to go to when you're struggling, but you never know. Maybe he can turn it around. So I don't really have a lot of positivity other than, hey, things could be worse. Could be 2016. So maybe that's the positive. See you guys.
It could be 2016.
Well, I think that's what everybody's worried about.
Yeah.
And that's why everything is so negative. And I think, what have we got? 1 game left in August. I think I said we'd have 9 points. Did I? Definitely 6.
Well, we have to beat Man City and Arsenal.
Man City is in September.
Yeah.
Man City is in September. But,
just about. Yeah. Ben's second one of the night is here. We've got a couple more before I go.
Just another thing, because I'm not over yesterday. When was the last time we saw Villa counter attack? There was at least 2 or 3 opportunities, and no one is bursting out of defence. I mean, it's a counter attack. You've got a 2-on-3. It's a brilliant way of scoring. I think it's the best way of football. But it looks like it's been told, no, don't release that ball early and get up there and try and get a goal. The way they're just sluggish on the transition is awful. Anyway, goodbye.
I agree with that. I agree that there are fast players in the team. And when you see we had a breakaway goal where Kamara won the ball back against Everton, Buendia's goal, and we broke quickly and we had players running across centre halves. And yes, Everton there were no oil painting that day, but we broke properly that day. We can't seem to break now because we either don't have players in the right positions. Like, you just look at where all our players' average positions are. We're like, if we are breaking, we have to almost manufacture the ball over to the left because that's where everybody's standing. Like, I've been saying that since God knows how long. Since I think nearly every game, I would imagine in 2022, I've made reference to the fact that there's 3 players standing on top of each other on that left-hand side of the field. And I'm just delighted that people were showing those maps, those average position maps. So I think that is a lot of hindrance. And a lot of people are talking about it now, about the fact that Ings and Watkins standing on top of each other, Coutinho and Buendia and McGinn all standing on top of each other out there. And that's our big problem. You can't really break when your own players are in your way. And for me, it's a killer.
And we saw it in the Everton game that we won. Jacob Ramsey made a couple of great runs. There's people getting in his way. In the first few minutes, he made a couple of great runs down the wing. And you got people getting in front of him, and you're going, what the hell is going on here?
And we were doing this with last year as well. We were doing this under McBeal too. I'm just not sure what's happening with it. Whether we just have all players that are comfortable playing out there, I have no idea. But to me, it's frustrating, and it's as plain as the nose in your face. Like, it's that obvious that it's happening in game, but I don't know why it's happening. Paddy, did you say you need to be gone? Because if you need to drop off, you can drop off.
I do need to go. I will leave you to it.
Excellent. Thanks, William, for dropping on. A round of applause for Paddy, everybody. Do you know what you can do to make Paddy sleep well tonight? Give us a thumbs up on the podcast. I'll go through the rest of these and we let Paddy go. Paddy, we might see you tomorrow for the preview game, for the preview of the Arsenal game. Up the Villa, indeed. We're going to go next to Bolg McTavish. A fantastic name, by the way.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Paddy. Bolg here, a.k.a. Bolg the Villain from Out of Your Comments. Love your show, love your content. Always look forward to it coming out. Really appreciate the efforts you've been making, putting out good stuff recently. Helps us get through the week, doesn't it? Particularly after a loss, I find. Very therapeutic. So, got to thank you for that. I don't want to go over yesterday's game. I'm sure lots of people will have done that already. Just thinking, my own feeling is that we're kind of at a crossroads now. It felt like something changed yesterday in our fortunes, and I think the club need to have to make a decision. I wonder what your opinion is on that. Judging by social media, the vast majority of fans, all the noise is kind of Gerrard out, isn't it, really? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where we go right now. I don't feel we have an identity or a plan. Although I still sort of kind of feel like I want to give Gerrard more time. So what do you reckon, guys? Not going to too many games this season. Lucky me. I just can't afford it. But I'm going to the Arsenal. I'm taking my lad. He's not long turned 18. He's just passed his A-level. So we're going to have a good day out celebrating anyway. And football won't ruin that. Up the Villa boys. Love it.
Excellent, and congratulations to your young fella passing his A-levels. And as I said, you know what, that's the kind of a message there. Not going to too many games. Price of the game's gone up, but you're going with your kid. and you're going to have a great day regardless of the result. Look, at the end of the day, football isn't just, it is everything, but at the end of the day, it's the least important. What was it the Klopp said? It's the least important everything, or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but he stole that phrase from someone. But that puts it into perspective. When you said, that there's something probably needs to be done, I don't see Gerrard getting the bullet this week, next week, Man City week. I don't see it. I think there's a like the big problem here is that the standard was set, or the phrase that will come back, and I'm going to pin my colours to the mast here. I'm not a Purslow out guy either. I think Purslow is there for a bigger project, and I think he brings more to the club from that point of view. Anyone else can have their own opinion at the moment. Yes, he hired Steven Gerrard. That's fine. That's a black mark on his copybook for sure. But I think from the overall project and from from building the club, because you do need somebody to be able to build the club in that CEO position as well. But he has said one or two things recently, specifically the Dean Smith piece where he said continuous improvement. And for me, that's where we now have a different standard. If somebody being held to a different standard than Dean Smith was, and I can understandably feel why people are angry at Purslow for that. But I think that one of the big things as well is that where have we? We had a great post there from AVC agent Gerrard. He said, since promotion, we've spent more on Wesley than our central midfield. Huge problem. You can't progress the side without a core, and McGinn is not a top half midfielder. That's absolutely true. We're talking about a midfield that's too passive since the days of Dean Smith. Since we brought in Ross Barkley on loan. We've brought in Sanson for 14 million. And we've brought in, since promotion, we've brought in, is that it? Am I missing anyone, guys? Jacob Ramsey, Academy product. Boubacar Kamara, free. Ashley Young, arguably, he's played in there. There's a point in that the number 8 position we've been crying out for. We've been crying out, and the midfield is stale. I think that's fair to say. Boubacar Kamara is our only positive at the moment. I thought he was really good at the weekend again. But I think it is, and Luis was pretty good, but I do think our midfield is stale. That is a great point. Great point, ABC agent Gerrard. Let's get on to our last two here, because I'm sure you guys want to go. I think the Villa View are on at 10 o'clock. So I'm sure you guys are in for want to go watch Dan and Chris there as well. So we'll try and get the last two in here and let you guys off to watch that as well.
Hello, Neil. Hello, Paddy, if you're in. Yeah, I'm not going to be around to watch this tonight, but I shall watch it back. Basically, I've got a question rather than a statement. I'd love to hear your guys' views on whether or not, if SG gets the push, do you believe that Critchley could step up and implement his own style of football on the team, being a proven English League manager, and also give stability to the players by at least having a purpose, whether or not it's the formation and the tactics that we end up using down the road? Just for now, having that stability, do you reckon that's something that Critchley, and his older head and his coaching pedigree, do you believe that's something that this team needs at the moment? And do you believe that, could it be that our owners actually bought Critchley in as an insurance policy for this very reason? Because Steven Gerrard was an unknown quantity. He was a risk for both of us. We were a risk for him, and he was a risk for us. So there's, there might be a bit of validity in that. But my personal opinion is that I see him at some point taking over, and even if that's only interim manager, I think if he does a good job, I can see him doing good things at the club. But again, this is all pie in the sky at the moment. But thanks again, guys.
I think both your messages have different questions in them, but what I'll do is I'll answer that one first. When we spoke to the guys from Blackpool, they mentioned that Critchley was more of a developer of young players, or he was a developer of players in an individual basis, and sometimes he found it difficult to implement specifically defensive game plans. Now, Mick Beale was never known as a defensive mastermind either, But Critchley, I think they brought, who was it that he brought in? I'm open to correction on this. I think it might have been Colin Calderwood, former Villa player. I think Critchley had him with him I'm open to correction on that. I could have the wrong one, the wrong person, but I think he brought him in to help out with the defensive structure at Blackpool, and they actually started to get a better defensive structure when he came in. But Critchley is a coach. Critchley would have worked in the Liverpool setup with Steven Gerrard, so they would be familiar with each other from there. I think Critchley was very much a Steven Gerrard signing as opposed to a board signing. I don't think the board paired him up with Steven Gerrard. I think he was allowed to go and pick his number 2, which I think every single manager should be allowed to do. I like whether the manager is the right man to be there in the first place or whatever. I think he should be able to bring in his own staff and one people that he can work with, because pairing up and mixing up a person from that you think might be good with somebody else may never work. May never work. But I think Neil Critchley is only there a wet week essentially as well. So that's probably another thing that might buy Steven Gerrard some time over the course of the next few weeks. And look, we're all sitting here, and I know everybody here who is very down on the manager at the moment. Look, we're not getting the results we deserve, and that is 100% sure. And it's up to him to fix this. But if somehow he does fix this, I think everybody would still be delighted to say, look, yeah, we had to go through this, but we wish we didn't have to go through this. We wish he could have fixed it earlier. But all signs are pointing at the moment in the historical play that we've had under him is that things are not changing. And if they are changing, they're changing unbelievably slowly. And we want to see this expedited a small bit now, because we've had a pre-season, and now we're into this season again, and we're seeing the same things from last season. So but you could be right with regards to your Neil Critchley could be in the dugout managing a game for Aston Villa at some stage this season. I would imagine you would keep some sort of stability while there would be an intern for somebody else coming in, because it's very rare that a manager goes and then the manager comes directly in the door straight away afterwards. There's always, well, not always, but there's likely, specifically with the truncated season now, with the World Cup break, there's a lot of midweek games and stuff like that coming up. So yes, it could be a situation that happens. And last one for British Mick.
Sorry, just one more thing I forgot to mention really quick. Do you also think that our upcoming game against Arsenal will be a very good opportunity forced on Gerrard to make a change to the formation? Because I doubt very much, it's literally going to be suicide if we try and play the way that we have been playing against Arsenal. Maybe reverting to a 4-4-2 or some kind of more defensive formation and just getting the players to sit deeper and maybe using the long ball and utilising the long ball. I don't know, but maybe this is an opportunity that may cause Steven Gerrard to stumble across a new formation. Who knows?
I missed part of that. I don't know if the audio jumped for some of you guys in the middle. I'm just going to go back to maybe about 10 seconds in there because I missed a good portion of that, so apologies.
Gerrard to make a change to the formation, because I think that our upcoming game against Arsenal will be a very good opportunity forced on Gerrard to make a change to the formation, because I doubt very much, it's literally going to be suicide if we try and play the way that we have been playing against Arsenal. Maybe reverting to a 4-4-2 or some kind of more defensive formation and just getting the players to sit deeper and maybe using the long ball and utilising the long ball. I don't know, but maybe this is an opportunity that may cause Steven Gerrard to stumble across a new formation. Who knows?
Yeah, invoke. So, I don't care how we get results. We can invoke the spirit of the great Jack Charlton and the Irish football team of 1990 and go long ball. Yeah, absolutely, but we would need a bit of height. We got rid of Keenan Davis. Keenan Davis could have been the man for that. But I'm at the situation, as you said beforehand. I don't care what we play. I don't care what we play as long as it starts to get results and then we start to see something different on the field, because that's a lot of the frustration I think with people is, yeah, some days we're playing with Watkins and Ings, some days we're playing with Coutinho and Bailey, but realistically what's happened is we're all still crowding each other out in the exact same areas of the field. So regardless of the personnel, we all get full of wonderment going, oh, is he trying something different? And then when we look at the average positions of players and we see it on the field, we're still bottlenecking ourselves throughout the field. So listen, if we want to play 8 behind the ball and attack with 3 or 9 or 7 behind the ball and attack with 3, but just go long, I'm at the stage whereby if it starts to get results and it starts to right the ship, I'm okay with regards to at this moment in time until we stumble upon a formula that's more, I suppose, the translates more to more consistency within the team. But from my point of view, as I say, I'm struggling to see any different ideas on a week-to-week basis, and but due to my positive disposition, I will still go out my team sheet tantrums, and I will try and think that something is going to change, because that's how I support Aston Villa. I'm blind and all as it is, but yeah, as I say, I'm not seeing it quick enough for my liking. I will be honest, I'm not seeing it quick enough, and nor are you guys. I'm sure of that. So, thanks very much for that, guys. That's really good. I really appreciate it, all the voicemails that you guys have sent in. It's it's really nice to listen to them and to listen to the thought processes, because sometimes when you see comments, I'm the worst in the world to pick up nuance from comments in the comments. So sometimes someone might put in a great comment, I might read it incorrectly, and I might think it's a weird comment, and I might not say anything back to it. So I do apologize. So sometimes I've seen myself when I've watched the podcast back read something incorrectly and pick up the wrong end of the stick from people. So where you can't really do that in voicemails, because you can hear the inference and the voice inflection and so on. So really appreciate that, guys. And you know what? We're 4 weeks in and we haven't had anyone go absolutely nuts in the voicemail so far. So that just goes to show that you guys are a sound bunch of lads. So thanks very much for that. We will be back again tomorrow with any breaking transfer news, obviously. I don't expect there to be any. I would expect us to go probably. I expect Thursday to be busy once again. My blind faith, probably, and my hopeless optimism, and the fact I'm a hopeless romantic. I would expect it to be busy, but who knows? Thursday, that is. Yeah, did I say Wednesday? Thursday. I would expect Thursday to be busy. And do you know why Thursday is going to be busy? Because I thought it was going to be Wednesday, and I can't do a podcast on Thursday. So you can be damn sure between 6 and 10, when I can't do the podcast, you'll be damn sure Villa are going to sign 5 players, and I won't even be able to access my phone for that period of time. So you can imagine I'll be scratching away like someone trying to get off heroin. Inside waiting to get to my phone afterwards to see if Villa did any damage in the transfer market. So spare a thought for me on Thursday. Thanks very much, everybody. I'm going to let you go. It's nearly 10 o'clock. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button. I really appreciate you guys doing that too. It just, I don't know what it does for the algorithm, but apparently it loves it and it gets our name out there as well. Hope you've enjoyed tonight. Hope that the weekend is getting a small bit easier. On to Arsenal, and fingers crossed. We'll be back with a preview tomorrow. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, all that's left to say is up the Villa.